Before getting this knife in hand, I never would have thought I would like it as much as I do. I actually like this thing a lot, like a lot. It is an integral, so it's made out of one solid piece of titanium. At least the handle is. The handle is one solid piece of titanium. However, they do have these overlays, or you could call it an inlay because it is inset and there's no seam around the edges. And as you can see, no hardware. So in order to get these inlays off, you slide this way. I was trying to just pop them off, but they won't pop off. You have to slide them. So you just take out the clip screw, and then the other side, you know, the cover, and there you go. You have the integral titanium frame lock, all bare bones. You can see all the weight relieving they put on the inside of there. So this is really cool how they were able to do this, because normally with regular knives with two scales, they mill out the inside to bring down the weight. In this case, they were able to do it on the outside because they couldn't do it on the inside because of, wrong side, because of the integral, because of it being an integral. What am I doing here? Well, I was doing it the right way. All right, pops on right there, and then pops on right there. And then you just, you know, put the clip back on there, and that holds it all together. And then obviously you can see that there is the pivot. That would be the only screw this thing is required in order to do the frame, because this is all one solid piece, so it doesn't need any screws to hold it together. You need the screw to hold the clip on, but you don't need anything else besides the pivot, which holds the blade in place. Then you can see it's got this little insert in there, so you can take that out and you can get the bearings and everything and work on it appropriately if you needed. As you can see, the clip replacement cover fits perfectly in there. It is absolutely seamless, especially once I put the screw in there. Man, they did a really good job with it. You would think that this was part of the titanium, you know, because it's so seamless. Now, there is a couple different versions, a couple different color options. I do really like the black and green fat carbon fiber one. It looks really, really good. There's also a copper one, and then a Damascus one. Now, this all has a reversible titanium mill pocket clip, and it is a TASHI BHARUCHA design. Now, TASHI BHARUCHA is a well-known, renowned knife maker / knife designer, and in this case, he is the designer, and the OEM is NEEVEKNIVECO. The blade steel is at 20 CV with this beautiful hand satin finish. Gorgeous looking blade shape. I can just look at this knife and see the usefulness of this blade shape. Has a beautiful straight clip point. The swedge looks really good. The tip lands in a great spot. The geometry is not too thin, but it's also not robust. It's nice and slicey. Good geometry. The ergonomics, you know, being an integral, it's just so comfortable in the hand. I looked at this thing and I thought, yeah, I'm gonna have issues with that. That's just what I thought in the back of my head. But now that I have it in hand, it is very comfortable. I feel like, you know, you could never pull this out of my hand and I would never slip up. This little ridge right here, while depending on your hand size, might be a little tight right here, but personally for me, yes, I feel this, and yes, my fingers are crammed in there, but it works. It just works for some reason. Like, it's not bothering me at all. It's like, it's almost like it's like a leverage point. Like, it almost feels like it adds to my ability to use the knife in a way. And I like that. It doesn't get too narrow back here, so my pinky wraps around in a nice, comfortable space. I don't feel the clip very much. I mean, I notice it, but it's not, you know, it's not problematic in any way. Now, the action, I never would have thought this thing would have such good action looking at if I just based it off of the flipper tab, because the flipper tab has no traction, no jimping, and it's kind of squared off. However, it's remarkable. Let's just listen to the sound. It's got a nice thwack. Very solid lockup. I have already checked it. No failure. The access to the lock bar is very well done. They did knock this back a little bit, so it's a little bit higher on this side. Very comfortable disengagement, and it is buttery smooth on the drop. Damn near falls shut. I mean, it is very, very close. A little tiny bit of encouragement, and it falls all the way. Very controlled, though. So it's not something that just slams shut. It's something that has that nice, subtle, slow hydraulic closing action. I love it. Now, the flipper tab, while it doesn't have any traction, it just happens to work. Like the tension of the detent, the position of the flipper tab, even the shape of it, it all works together to make a very smooth deployment. Like there's one thing to be smooth on the closing, right? But there's another thing to be smooth on the opening. This has a very smooth opening action. And I know that's hard to even think of, you know, and I honestly, if you said this to me, I wouldn't be able to think of what you're talking about. But if you got it in hand, you would understand. You know, it's a very smooth breaking opening action. And if you're gonna have a knife with only one deployment, being a flipper tab, this is a good one to have. I can't reverse flick it, so it is only one deployment option. Sharpening tool and plunge grind, in this case, is really well done. I'm happy with this. TASHI BHARUCHA doesn't always like sharpening tools and plunge grinds, but if you look, it is separated from the edge, so you will have life to sharpen. Now, once you sharpen up to here, it is going to be straight back and forth, and in that case, you are probably going to sharpen back to here. But, you know, that'll be a little bit at least, and you could always cut in a choil because, you know, the stop pin is right here, and it's not in the way if you ever did want to. At least I don't think there's anything. No, there's nothing in the way if you did have to cut in your own sharpening choil in the future to clean it up a little bit after a lot of sharpening, you know. Man, this thing is so smooth. But yeah, it's a knife that, you know, just looking at it, you know, I looked at it, you know, I knew it was a premium knife, like, you know, a TASHI BHARUCHA, but this one has just something that is feeling that's a little bit more special than some other knife designs that are done. And I don't think it's just because it's an integral. It is perfectly well centered. Can't ask for better centering. You know, the clip is, like I said before, is reversible. So nitpicks, the clip, while it works fine. It's not going to tear your pockets up. I do wish it was a little bit longer because it doesn't have a lot of spring to it. So, and that's just the case of it being short and stumpy. You know, anytime you have thick titanium where it's short and stumpy, it's not going to have a lot of spring to it. So I kind of wish it was either longer or maybe this had less, I don't know, something to where it could be more springy. But like I said, it does work just fine. That's just a tiny, tiny nitpick. I'm not complaining too much. The only other thing I would say is they did a T8 over here and a T6 over here. Why not just do a T8 over here and a T8 over here? Make it that easy. I mean, I even like the look of a T8 more than I like the look of a T6. You know, I know that's just personal preference, but, you know, all in all, you know, this is a very well done knife. If I was going to nitpick on anything else whatsoever, the only thing I could say is I wish it kind of had another secondary deployment. But the flippering action is so good that I don't know if it matters. I don't even think I care that much. Yeah, and I mean, you could always add, you know, one of those quick studs if you really wanted to. Not that you would, because this is such a gorgeous looking knife. So these things are very well done. I don't really have any real negatives. I mean, you know, a little tiny nitpick, but that's it. I mean, this thing is very, very well done. Now, it's going to be pricey. You're going to, you know, it's an expensive knife because you're getting an integral, and not only an integral, a very, very well done integral with a great designer. So when you start looking at all those things, you know, of course the price is going to be up there. You're paying for a premium knife, you know, with premium quality, premium everything. So now, as far as the HRC and the heat treatment, I would love to see we start using some new steels besides it's just 20 CV. You know, I think maybe they could possibly even do other steels even better than their 20 CV. So hopefully in the future we start seeing them, you know, expand a little bit more, start using some different steels. They need to separate themselves from the pack, you know, instead of being, you know, because all the other companies are using it. Like, you want to see, especially from a company like NEEVEKNIVECO, which has always stood out from the crowd and always been like the one that stands out as, you know, one of the best, if not the best. You'd like to see them use different steels and really perfect and really pay attention to their heat treatment, their HRCs and things like that. Not that they don't do a good job with their heat treatment, because I do think they do. I think their HRCs could be a little bit harder in some cases, but, you know, I've never had a problem with their actual heat treatment. You know, it's just basically been, you know, just whether or not the wear resistance is there from the hardness. But if they mess with other steels and they perfected their heat treatments with other steels, I think that would be, you know, done and over with. I think that would completely separate them, and I think people would be super happy with that. Yeah, anyways, there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.